It's another episode of the Next Fixed podcast where we talk about what everybody wants, right? It's the comeback story. It's the hero cycle, however you want to look at it, because success stories are cool, but we really emotionally tie to that comeback, right? The underdog. And so today we've got Ty Gipson. And so he's no stranger to hard times and of course feeling like maybe he didn't have many options. And so he's got a whole framework for just that word specifically is options. And so Ty, I want to thank you for sharing your time here with me and these beautiful people. And so I do want to know, man, how you're living. You got a smile on your face. So
Man, life
how's
is
that
good,
going today?
Ryan. It is good. And as I said, just to be here, man, every day's a bonus day to me. And I'm just glad to be here. But, first, Ryan, I want to just say thank you, man. Um, for what you're doing, because I tell you, everybody, we all struggle with something. And I tell you, man, it's just sometimes we just need we got to throw our arms around each other and help each other out. So thank you for what you're doing. And I really appreciate the podcast and reaching out to people to try to throw your arms around them. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a collective effort. And I think that if we all are making that effort, man, it's just a heck of a lot better than the other thing because I've
Yeah.
experienced the other thing. But experiencing the other thing is what we're going to start with. We're going to
Yeah.
start with, maybe you didn't feel that embrace from anybody. And anyways, here on the Next Fix, we want to know about those rock bottom moments and the
Yeah.
times when you felt like, maybe you didn't have any options and maybe things looked
Sure.
the darkest for you.
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, and I appreciate you letting me be on here because I do have a story, and it's one of those we all do, but I just think we, sharing our stories help each other, right? We don't know what the guy to the right or left needs to hear. For my story, I mean, it goes back, man. I grew up down in Southeast Texas, which is just a small town, but my dad growing up was one of those guys that dust off, boy, you'll be all right. Nobody wants to hear your problems. We could probably a lot of us relate to that, right? Just and so I was raised
Rub
that
some
way.
dirt on it. He's a rub
That's
some
right.
dirt on it.
Absolutely. And this was what as a young kid on, and at the time I thought it was a little harsh, but what I didn't realize is though that was really preparing me for the road ahead of me because I needed a lot of times I knew I've had to dust myself off quite a bit. And so I really, growing up that way, I really believe, and I truly believe we all deal with challenges you can't be successful without having some failures. Right. And, and I feel like a lot of times we're just some of these stuff we're going through is preparing us for the road ahead to help others, whatever that looks like. But as a juvenile diabetic, man, I started at 8 years old with juvenile diabetes, and I'm going to age myself a little bit, Ryan. This was in the late 70s, man. So I'm 50, I'm mid 50s, 56 years old right now. So late
Man, that
70s
ain't
with
nothing,
diabetes,
man.
man.
You're just a pup, man.
Yeah, that just feels good to hear it, man. I don't know. That just feels good to hear. But you know, back then the technology was not there. Having diabetes in the 70s was a whole new animal, right? I had brittle diabetes, but anyway, my first big struggle was they put me in a research floor because I had such brittle diabetes that I couldn't get it controlled and it was all over the place. And so they put me in the hospital and they took a chemotherapy syringe pump and they put insulin in this thing. And there was 3 or 4 people doing that at the time. But what it was one of the early phases of insulin pumps. So I put this thing on. Instead of taking injections, I'd take this pump and it'd give me insulin throughout the day, right? So as we all probably know somebody today wearing an insulin pump and
Yeah,
all that.
and let me tell you real quick, Ty. Like I had a buddy of mine in probably year 2000. They put an insulin pump on him, and he kicked the bucket like a month later. I don't know exactly what happened. I know he was diabetic, and he was having a hard time. They put the pump on him, and there was a malfunction. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
I'm filling in blanks here, but he was struggling, but he was still alive. They put the pump on him, and then he went home and he kicked the bucket. And I feel like it wasn't doing its job, and that's what really did him
Yeah.
in.
Well, there's a lot of different things that go into making sure these things work right and all that. And man, I hate to hear that, but I'm sure everybody deals with different things. But luckily I struggled with it for early on. Now you got to remember, as a kid, I mean, my first pump was 1 pound 9 ounces. Now we got these little ounces. I mean, it looked like a daggum brick, man. I was carrying around a brick on my belt, and it wasn't, at the time, I just wanted to be a normal kid, played sports. I hunt and fished. I did everything a young kid did. And that's just what we did, so and my parents didn't ever let me take that crutch, right? I mean, you just keep pushing, Ty, and I did. But anyway, through the years, I got into different insulin pumps, and it was fine. But I mean, I still went through high school days playing sports with pumps, and then college, and as you know, in college, man, it's a different lifestyle. And man, I was trying to be like every other kid in college, and as a diabetic with that brittle diabetes, you can't live that lifestyle, right? And it was hard. It was really hard. I mean, I was hard headed and tried things and did things I shouldn't be doing, and as a diabetic, it was hard. And so to move on, that was hard just as a young kid, kind of getting through all that. But then when the real struggles began, man, was when I was 30. I had a 6-year-old daughter at this time. My career was going. I go in to the doctors and they say, "Hey, Ty, I was extremely tired." And I went in and he said, your kidneys are failing. And I said, okay, all right, what does that mean? I've been through all this medical stuff. Like, what's next? Right. What do I got to do? And he says, well, you really need a transplant. He said, but here's the deal. You have such brittle diabetes. If we just put a kidney in there, it's going to continue to just really just burn through kidneys, really, right? And so he said, there's a doctor out in Baltimore, Maryland, that's at research right now, a kidney and a pancreas transplant at the same time.
Well, hold on. Let me just, I don't even know if I have spoken about this, but I'm going to say it again. I'm diabetic myself,
Yeah.
and I developed diabetes through my drug use and my alcohol abuse. And basically, I broke my pancreas. So just
Yes.
for anybody, my pancreas does not secrete insulin, and so my functionality, I'm diabetic. I've got a sensor
Yeah.
on my arm.
Oh,
I
yeah.
put insulin in
Yep.
my
We
belly.
got them.
I do the whole deal. So when Ty is talking about a pancreas and a kidney transplant, well, first of all, I mean, just right for somebody that has no idea what we're talking about, that's a heck of a lot of organs. That's a whole lot of somebody else's body
That's a
going
lot of
into
different
your
parts.
body.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So that's what they're proposing is that there's some guy in Baltimore and he does this. And
Right. There was
crazy.
research going on there, and they said, "Hey, but here's the deal: you got to be a candidate because they've only did 4 of these surgeries, and 2 of them were not successful." So, I mean,
When you say wait, hold on. When you say not successful, they didn't make it through the thing. They didn't make it.
I think there was one that didn't. And I think there was others that just had a lot of major complex
Got
challenges
it.
to it.
Sure.
Um,
Right.
but it was not a successful surgery. But here was the thing, though. I had a 6-year-old daughter at home, and I knew I did not want to live the life. I mean, I could not be there for her if I on dialysis. There's no way. I mean, the quality of life and just, I mean, I wanted to be there for her. And they tell me if I can get through this surgery, then you'll be able to live a normal life, and with obviously some things, but you can function in life and carry on a family and all that. So I I chose that. I mean, did the research and I went and I said, okay, I'm going for it. I mean, I said, I didn't really have an option. Again, I kind of go back to this no option. And that's where some of this came in is did I really want to be attached to a dialysis center the rest of my life or doing this? I just, I didn't want to. And so, I chose to go for it. I said, I'm going for this. And so after doing all the research and all that and sitting down they came back and they said, Ty, you definitely are a candidate. But as we know, to the audience here, I can get a kidney from a living donor, but I cannot receive a pancreas. I have to wait
From a living.
for a deceased donor, right?
Sure.
So,
Right. Because that's
so
that's the that's the part that really like threw my mind into a tizzy, right? Is that because
yeah,
I know that kidneys or, well, we got more than one, right? Like there's these other like options and ways around it, but pancreas is rather limited. I mean, if you've got issues with that thing, you only got one and it's kind of dead center of your body. So they can't really like do chemo on it. There's not a whole lot.
right.
It is not something that I've heard of being transplanted at all. So this is crazy. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so
So it was quite a new procedure. And there was definitely a lot of studies around it and all that. Um, but so I get my mother who's 60 at the time, and we go in there and she says, Ty, listen to me. God gave me 2 kidneys. One of them's yours. And I said, yes, ma'am. I mean, I didn't know what else I was going to say, but she said, if the doctor said it's okay, then I want, this is yours. And very thankful for that. Right. But now we get on a list for this pancreas. And so I get back home and I'm doing blood tests every week because I got to be, when I get the call, I got to be healthy. So,
Right.
um, and so we're going through this. I'm still working. Here was the thing though, as I said, I didn't. The doctors told me if I don't have to go on dialysis, I'd have a much better shot of handling the transplant without rejection. So I was not to go through dialysis. And so, man, I would go to work. I would come home. I'd go to bed at 6 o'clock in the afternoon just to try to get through the next day. And it was just really hard. And then I have a daughter, and at the time, I mean, I wasn't married at this time, and so it was really a lot of hard times going on. And so I get through this. I'm working, and about 8 months in, Super Bowl Sunday, 1999, in fact, is the date that I'm at home. I stay up a little bit later to watch the Super Bowl, but then I go to bed at midnight. My phone rings, and I look at it, and it's a 410 number, which I knew exactly who that was because I'd been talking to them. So it's that Baltimore area code, and they called and they said, Ty, there's been an accident, and we have a pancreas that matches you.
Wow.
And she said, I need you to get mobile and go ahead and get from Texas to Baltimore. So I get a hold of my mom, who's in a
What
different.
kind of a window we talking? Is it like 24 hours or is it like
Yes,
40?
it was at the time about a 24-hour window. So it wasn't
Wow.
I mean, it wasn't like I had to, you know, I mean, I had to get there pretty
Sure.
quick, but it wasn't
Sure.
something crazy. But we take off that night in the morning, basically. And it was really cool because there'd been, and this is a really cool part of it, that they did an article about my challenges here in the local Austin paper. And when they did, one of the big corporate companies here in town said, "Hey," they reached out to me and they said, "Hey, our owner um, wants to donate his planes from when you get the call." And I thought, "Wow,
Like
it was
like his planes are ready. They're like, you've got a
yeah,
ride ready
I
to
don't have to go to
go.
the commercial flight and all that," which was absolutely amazing because
That is amazing, man. Wow.
I say that because there are some really good people out in this world that that do some amazing things, and that was a really so I had a pilot. He gave me his pilot's number, and so when I got the call, I called him, and sure enough, we took off and off we went, and it was amazing. But it's like the movies, man. You get there, hurry, and then you wait, right? And then you
Right.
go through all the paperwork and the blood work and the test, getting everybody ready. And anyway, it was an amazing evening, night, and all that. But we went into this surgery, 16-hour long surgery. Um, and then it was crazy because in the operating room, I've got myself, I've got my mother over here, and then they've got a team working on the organ. It's because they're going to get my mom's kidney, they're preparing the pancreas, and they're getting me ready to receive all this. So we get through it. 16 hours later, I wake up and my mother's sitting beside me in a wheelchair in recovery, which was amazing in itself that she was already, through that.
Right.
But I'll tell you, Ryan, it was craziest thing. Your body is naturally going to try to reject these organs. So they give you all this medication to try to keep your body from fighting it off, right? So I woke up the next morning and I was now taking 65 pills a day. 65 pills a day. Um,
Now, I'm not an expert, but that's like a lot of stuff going through your kidneys too. But
that's
man,
it's
all right.
Yeah, that's a lot. And so, but I'll tell you, a lot of them are the anti-rejection meds, but then the other half of them are the side effects from the anti-rejection meds. So, I mean, it's just a lot of stuff. And then your body's got these two organs, so it's naturally just doesn't feel right, right? Doesn't feel good. So I'm battling through this, and I felt bad, but I felt I could see different color in my skin, and I wasn't that yellow that I had gotten with this kidney. And the doctor said what was pretty cool though, and I'll tell you, he said when he was sewing up my mother's kidney into me, it started working immediately. And so it was just such a cool story. But they told me, they said, Ty, it's going to take 1 year for you to recover from this. 1 year, just give it a year. We get you through the year, and you're in a good spot. So I'll tell you that first year was probably the most challenging year I've ever been through, but I got through it. I got the after that year, and it was no joke. Within about a week of that year, I just started feeling better. And one of the local newspapers that interviewed me, and I said a quote back then, and I think it was probably the most accurate quote I've ever said. But it was they said, "How did you feel before and after the surgery?" And I said, "You know, it's like living life in black and white, and now living it in full color." Because it
Wow.
was just, I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't realize how bad I felt.
Sure, because 'cause you're in it. When you're
Yeah.
in it, you don't know how bad things are. And so
No,
say that one more time, Ty, like,
I
say it
said
again.
a
I
quote.
won't butcher it.
I mean, living life, it was like I was living life in black and white and now living it in full color. And that was the difference. And I truly believe that's still the most accurate quote I could say because it was just, you don't realize as a diabetic sometimes how bad people feel. But you could look at them and they look normal and everything looks healthy and you should be just feeling great. But inside, you don't have it, right? You just don't. And you
Yeah.
can relate, Ryan. There's some days that are rough and some days that are great. But as a diabetic,
Yeah.
you fight this, right?
Yeah, mine got so bad, I was full on the jaundice. I had jaundice, my skin, my eyes were yellow, my organs were not functioning, and so the poisons and toxins of course, I was putting the poison in there, but,
Yeah,
my body had lost its ability to get to filter it out, and so there I was, I mean, I was dying and, to your point, I couldn't tell how bad I was, but I could see people's faces when they saw me. It wasn't
yeah,
good. I was like, why are you looking at me like they're like, "You look like you're dying." I'm like,
yeah,
"Shut up."
yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody else can notice it, but ourselves, right? I mean, but yeah.
Right.
So it was a hard road, but it was what I try to tell people right here though is, man, whatever walls in front of us, whatever whatever we're challenged that that's in front of, and we're all dealing with something, but it is worth the fight to climb that wall. Because I'll tell you, after that surgery, I was able to get married. I was able to adopt my daughter, second daughter, and I was able
Okay.
to open our business. So, man, I just always encourage
Yeah.
people, man, there's so much light on the other side of that wall. And it's sometimes it's so hard to see it, but it's
Now
well
yeah.
worth the climb.
Well, let me ask you this, okay? Now you had that magnificent quote about living in black and white, now you're living in color, but if you had asked that version of Ty, you're in the hospital, the organs are in there, and you asked that Ty, if I would ask that Ty at that time, that particular version of you, is it possible that you're going to have a bigger family than you have now? Or do you feel like you're going to find, a wife or whatever it may be? I mean, what was your outlook at that point when you're just sitting there? But do you think did you feel like this was possible for yourself?
Not at that time. And I'll tell you what was wild about that. And I never looked too far out because I didn't think I'd ever get there.
Sure.
I
That's
didn't.
crazy, and I can identify with that, man, because as an addict, your ability to see past your high is non-existent. What does that mean? Well, I can only think about 4 hours at a time because that's about how long I stayed high, and that stayed with me. It's a habit clearly of a person who doesn't have the ability to see a future for themselves, and so you didn't see that, and so you just didn't think about the future at all?
This I was scared to plan it because I thought I wouldn't be there for. In fact,
Man,
I really at that time didn't even want to I didn't want to get married because I didn't want to bring somebody else into that. And I thought, man, I can't do that to somebody else. I mean, because I don't know if I'm going to be here for them, and I don't want them to have to go through all that, right? And so I really didn't. I didn't, man. That wall was a lot higher than I really thought I could climb at that point.
sure, man.
But as I started feeling better, and I started kind of like seeing in color again, right? As I mentioned,
Yeah.
when I started seeing it, I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be like. And so that's when I started to really start to put some dreams out there and go, "Oh my gosh, I can do this."
Right,
I
right,
I've been put here for a reason, man. I mean, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and why am I sitting back now and not moving forward? And so I really had to look myself in the mirror and tell myself, I'm gonna do it. Because, you know, Ryan, I talk about this a lot now, is our mind is the most powerful tool we have. I mean, and I say that all the time. I mean, we everybody listen to this. We have every one of us right now has the tool we need to get through it. and it's right here.
Yeah.
I know there's sometimes some challenges there, but 99% of us have the tool right now to fight whatever it is we're going through. It's just that we've got to use it. Now, I talk about that all the time because that's really what got me through. When I realized I could see a little bit of a light through those clouds and things started kind of lightening up,
Yeah.
I started dreaming. And when I started dreaming, man, I started believing in myself. And when I started believing in myself, I felt like nobody could stop me. And I was determined.
Just for specificity,
Yeah.
when you're saying it, what are you talking about? Our minds? Are you talking about our belief? Specifically, what are you referencing? You're kind of gesturing and implying, but I want to know in your words, like what are you saying is it? Like what is it that we're using?
When I could see it, is that what you're saying? Yeah, when I could just start to what I mean, I just felt like now there was life in my body where I felt like kind of like you were living those 4 hours on those highs. I didn't know if I had hours or if I had days or if I had a couple more months, but I never could see past that because
So, well, was it belief, or were you talking about like your mind?
my mind, it was all here. It was all right
Okay,
here. It was all in my mind because and that's why I'm so big on our mind because I realize I'm the one holding me back. I really
right.
am. I'm the
Yeah,
one holding me back. I can't use excuses. It's not this, it's not that. It's me.
yeah.
And I've got to look myself in the mirror and like my dad said, dust off, boy, you'll be okay. And that's kind of what I had to tell myself and remind, what I was, and that's really, again, I talked about how I was raised. I really think that's where some of those things that we go through, there are times in life where that challenge is what we've got to has equipped us to get ready for something that we're dealing with. And that truly what happened there.
Out of out of all of that, right? You've actually structured it, right? And it's the
I
no
have.
the no
I have.
options approach, and this is what you speak
And I'm gonna
about.
go,
And
yeah, I'll jump into that in here with you.
yeah,
I during that time, I talked to people and that, oh, you gotta be positive. My mother was one of them too. That'd say, Ty, you just gotta think positive. And I'm like, saying that word, just be positive is like what does that mean? When you're in the ditches, what does that
right,
mean? Right? I mean, that is like, just I mean, it just goes right over it. But so I started thinking about I need small bites, right? I mean, I need to take small steps. And I think that goes back to just there's a lot of studies behind that 1% rule, right? If we can get 1% every a day, that whole thing, right? If we can grow 1% better every day, how much we're going to get better over a week, a month, a year. But I started thinking about what did I do to get through this? And so here's where the no options. It's a 3-step mindset that I have, this is number one: is grow or die. I ask myself, grow or am I going to grow or am I going to die? And I'm not,
right.
in my case, sometimes it was literally dying, but I'm talking about, are we going to let our dreams, our purpose, our goals, our relationships, whatever it is, are we really going
Sure.
to we going to let those die? And that's what we do, right? Grow or die is what we do.
Okay.
And number two is hope or despair. And that's how we think, right? Are we going to be the victim? Why the heck did I have diabetes? And why did I have to go through these organ transplants? Why? Or can I just continue to say, you know what? Man, I'm so thankful that I'm getting to take these 65 pills a day because I mean, whatever, find the silver lining, right? Find the good reasons why we can. And then the third one is humor or drama. And that's how we talk, right? And when I say
Sure.
talk, I'm not talking about talking to each other. Sometimes it's talking to ourselves. What are we telling ourselves in the morning when we put our foot on the ground, right? Is this going to be a great day, or is it, gosh, dog, and it's another day, and I've got all to take all these shots, or I've got to take these pills, or I've got to do whatever, right? Find humor in it. You know, I think people think I'm crazy sometimes because I laugh and make jokes about some of the stuff that I have to go through, but it's
Right.
really for me, it's me getting through some of this stuff. But that's how we talk. So I'm gonna real quick. Grow or die is what we do. Hope or despair is what we think. Humor or drama is how we talk. And when we just we think about those 3 small steps, it aligns our mind to be a positive thinker.
Right. I mean,
And
well,
that's
I
when we
tell you,
start to be a positive thinker.
I can identify with the the humor element of it because my mother, she sent me to jail and accused me of trying to cut her head off with a kitchen knife. And I usually say that with a smile and a bit of a chuckle. And I imagine some people are like, "What's wrong with you?" Like, that's not something you laugh about.
Right,
And in my
right.
mind, like, how I am about it, I'm like, "Well, what's the other option? Do you want
Yeah,
me to start crying about it?"
yeah, yeah,
Because I just don't think that that's very constructive either. So this is just me, getting, whatever you wanna call it, through it, over it, around it, whatever it may be. And there's plenty of people there's plenty of people who have blatantly said to me that I have tons of trauma that I gotta deal with, and sure, they may have a leg to stand on there, and they're most likely right, but in the moment, I can make a choice. I can highlight it that it was this awful moment of my life, or I can at least laugh about it so the other person isn't, like, in a horrible shock at how
sure.
awful it is, right?
Right.
So but
Absolutely.
I love that it's how we do, and then how we think, and then how we speak. And I think that that's a really simple, but it's simplicity is usually where the best success is found. And so I really applaud you for developing
Well, and
that.
I use that on a lot and a lot of stuff. As we talked earlier, I mean, I'm every day's a bonus. I'm just glad to be here, right? I mean, all of us are probably in a lot of cases. But man, man, I wake up and I get to see the sunlight. I am just excited to be here because I mean, I shouldn't be here in so many cases, right? But I mean, and the story doesn't end there, Ryan. I want to tell you, it gets better
Alright.
so
Yeah.
it gets better. So organs don't last forever, right? Organs don't last forever. My pancreas lasted for 12 years. So as a diabetic, you understand. I mean, to be able to now to I've got to see as a diabetic and then 12 years without diabetes, and it's amazing to see both sides of that. And now I'm back on the insulin pump because my organs the pancreas didn't last forever. But it was an amazing time because it really kind of gave my body a reset a little bit, a relief, right? Because diabetes is just hard on your organs, period. And
Right.
so it gave me a somewhat of relief. Now the pancreas lasted 20 years. My mother's pancreas lasted for 20 years. So
Well, your mother was a kidney.
I mean,
Didn't you
my
say?
kidney, yeah, my mother's kidney. I may have
Right.
misspoke that, but yeah, my mother's kidney lasted me for 20
20.
years. So in 2019, now keep in mind at this point, I mentioned I had opened my business. I've got 45 plus employees. The business is growing like crazy. Mentioned I adopted my daughters. We're in all the sports and we're playing. We're doing everything. And I've got my beautiful wife and my oldest daughters, and uh, with us, and things are going great. And then my kidneys failed. Immediately put me on dialysis. And this was just 5 years ago, right? And so in the morning, I'm thinking, how am I going to do this? I mean, but I thought I've got 45 employees. I got a young daughter now who's depending on me. I've got all of this going on, and so my wife works in the company with us, and I'm kind of the face of the company, at this time, and I'm like, so I didn't really have an option but to keep pushing. So I would go into dialysis Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 4:30 in the morning until 9, and then I'd show up at the office and try to act like nothing was going on.
Right. Nothing to see here.
I mean, no, kinda like you mentioned earlier, I thought I looked just fine, but everybody's like, "Ty, you okay?" "Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine, I'm fine, I'm fine."
Oh my.
But, I mean, man, on the inside, I was just I was struggling, uh,
Yeah.
but but the thing was, I was going back to my dad about nobody wants to hear your problems, so I never told my story, I never told people about it, and so which I don't encourage, but I'll get to that point in a minute. But so going through dialysis, one weekend, my wife had a family reunion, so we go down to it, and it's an extended family, and she says, "Ty, do you mind telling your story?" I say, "Well, if they want to hear my problems, I'll be glad to share them, I guess, if that's what they want to hear." And so I told my story, and on the way home, like 4 or 5 of them texted me and said, "Hey, thanks for sharing. We're gonna sign up to be organ donors. Hey, we're gonna go do this, and we're gonna." And I thought, as I drove home that late that night, I was thinking, how selfish am I if I can simply tell my story and help other people?
Oh, man.
And so that's why I'm here today, really, Ryan, is because I am
Right.
here today because of that. But through that, So I'm in dialysis, right? And I'm going through this, and then my sister ended up being a match for me, and I was gonna get her kidney. Well, then
My God.
right there toward the end, though, they came back and said, "Nah, it's not gonna work. Her kidneys aren't really in a position to really do that." And so my wife came back. She said, "Ty, I can't watch you go through this dialysis anymore." She said, "I know I'm a different blood type." And she said, "But I want to go in. I want to donate my kidney, and then you receive somebody else that matches your kidney, and we can get you moved up on a list." Well, so she goes in to do the test, and she goes with her mother. Her mother goes with her. They call me, and my wife is just crying. I'm like, "What is wrong?" And she said, "You're not gonna believe this, Ty." She said, "But I match you perfectly."
Man.
So to end this, I mean, to sum it up, 5 years ago, I received my wife's kidney, man, and life has not been better. Now,
Wow.
I don't have enough money in the world for Mother's Days and birthdays and all that. Yeah, I just say yes, ma'am. Anytime she asks me to do something, I just say yes, ma'am. But I will tell you this: it's again on the other side of whatever we're dealing with. This is some amazing things. And that 6-year-old daughter that I told you was trying to make sure. 2 months ago, I was able to walk her down the aisle.
Man.
So
That's
I'm telling you, man, it's painful, it hurts, but man, on the other side of that is some really amazing things. Um, about a year ago, I was able to sell our company, and now I still work for it, but I was able to. A group came along wanting to purchase our company, and I said no, and then they came back again. I told my wife, I said we might want to listen, and so we did, and we sold it, and I'm still highly involved with it, but I was telling my wife one night, I said, "I don't know what I'm gonna do with my free time." And she says, "I know exactly what you need to do with your free time." And so that's why I'm here is I'm just enjoying trying to help people get through whatever they're going through. And I do public speaking. I'm not a public speaker, man. I'm from Southeast Texas, right? I'm not a, I, I mean, but at the same time, I just want to tell my story. And I've been absolutely amazed of how many people have reached out. I mean, I was on the phone earlier today with a guy from Great Britain who heard my podcast and was struggling on some stuff and wanted to talk. And I thought, man, if I can do that, man, if I can help one, it's worth every minute, right? And
right.
so I'm just excited to be here again and help people in any way that I can.
You said this earlier on in this conversation about hearing that phrase, "You made it through this for a reason." And I I heard that so many times, and I never once gave it an ounce of anything. I didn't believe it meant anything, and I damn sure didn't think that I was supposed to do something with that phrase. And so, do you have advice for somebody and they're hearing in their life, "You've been through that for a reason." What would you tell that person?
You know, yes, because we all have gifts and talents. I mean, every single person that's listening, and I truly believe, that we when we talked earlier, everybody needs to hear a story. And a lot of times what we've gone through is so that we can go help others going through it, right? And so they're equipping us to go through this. I feel, and I'm a faith-based guy, Ryan. And I truly believe, God puts me here to I've gone through this so that I can help other people. And I truly believe that that's the same thing with everybody out there that are in the feel like they're down in the ditches by themselves. The reason we're in the ditches is so that we can be the best. We can When we talk about it, we can talk from the heart and we can talk from truth and not from some scripture, I mean, not some book that's telling us exactly what we need to say. This is talking from the truth. From We've been in those ditches with you, and I can tell you how to get through 'em. And I just tell people, I mean, it's we all have a purpose, and when we find the purpose, it's such a reward to be able to now go help other people with
Yeah, man. Have you thought about writing a book? I feel like there's a
it.
book in here.
Man, I haven't, but we've talked about it, but man, I'm enjoying this public speaking side of it right now. I mean, I know I probably need to do a book because I think it would be, but then I think about how I feel like I'm going back to school. I do a lot of homework, man. I don't know if I want to do a lot of homework, but no, I'm sure eventually I will. But right now, I just enjoy the public speaking, and
Yeah.
I love, I tell people all the time, I've got a website and stuff that has all this on there, but that phone number on there is my cell phone. I'm like, call me.
Right. No,
I
I
mean,
noticed. I
I
noticed.
mean,
I went to your site and I checked it out, and it's like it's blatant. Like, "Hey, man, this is me."
And, and I mean, it's funny. I've got a group that's helping me through, kind of do my public speaking and help me get in. And I always tell people all the time, man, I enjoy. I mean, she'll tell me, they'll tell me they're paying this or that, and I'm like, I don't care what they're paying. Just let me go talk. I just want to talk to them.
Right,
Because, be honest, I mean, I'm enjoying the just being able to give back because I really believe, like I was just saying, I believe I was down in those trenches for a reason. And it
right,
does nobody any good to sit here with it all right here and not share. But I say that with everybody has a story. And I mentioned it earlier. Sometimes we gotta put our arms around each other, right? I mean, this world we live in is very full of hate and just hard times, right? But really the person to our right or left sometimes just needs to hear what our story is.
right, and that's the piece that we don't know, and when we keep it to ourselves, it's not possible. It's not possible for that person to retrieve, the lesson or the inspiration. They're not able to get it if we don't let it go. And so the very worst place for it to stay, where whatever your story may be, the very worst place for it to stay is like locked up inside, like you said, inside. So one way or another, whether it's speaking or sharing on a post or sharing in a group, if there's so many people, I mean, AA is completely, it's based in that sharing and,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
exchange of stories. It's founded in that. However, that model, it's not owned by them and people that have drug problems and alcohol problems. It's also people that have gone through trauma. I'm sure that there is plenty of groups that need to hear stories about successful organ transplants because I feel the average person would say, I don't have a chance in hell of getting through this. And so then they just don't think it's possible. So to hear that story, to hear that you went through such a unique and obscure organ transplant and you made it, right? Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
outstandingly inspirational, right? And so that we can't go to the grave with all those stories bottled up because that's robbing the world of too many chances for it to live and to help. And so I think, to your point that we're kind of created to help each other, the and it doesn't have to be speaking. I want to encourage anybody that maybe you have a blog, maybe you have a newsletter. I mean, there's all kinds of there's
it may be
never
the person that you work next to, or you don't know. I mean, share that story, right? I mean, you're right. It does not, not everybody's made for public speaking, but I'll tell you this. I wasn't made for public speaking either. I mean, I, I mean, I tell my buddies, that when they give me a hard time now that you're a public speaker, but my point is if I can do it, anybody can do it. And I'm not saying from the stage. I'm talking about just at the grocery store or your coworker or a friend group. Share, man. I mean, because there may be people that, and I always the way I think of it, there may be somebody that's seeing life right now in black and white, and I just want to show them full color.
right. And now you may get through, you may not. Like, and that's something I think it's an important well, it is. It's a reality for people that might share on like social media or they get like consider a stand-up comedian. Talk about
Mhm.
tough. I mean,
Yeah,
those people are coming there to critique you.
yeah,
You're on stage. They kind of respect you because you've been through a lot. But like a stand-up comedian, like it's like a full-on target on them. And
yeah,
so you may get booed off the stage, but you know, I think you and we're cut from the same cloth that if there was that one person who sat there and they went home and it sank in and maybe the next day they lived their life a little bit differently, it's all worth that. But, again, it boils down to it's not possible if you keep it bottled up. And so we've got to find out what that combination is and get it out there into the world because your story is outrageously inspirational for myself because I'm thinking, I'm not kidding around when I say this it's likely that I might have organ transplants at some time. I mean, it's a
yeah.
possibility for me.
Well,
And so
anybody,
when I
right?
hear that that it's not over, I'm like, well, feels good to hear.
Yeah.
I
No,
mean, it's happening in
and
this
that's the thing. We never know. I never knew anything about organ transplantation till I lived it, right? So that's why. I always say, just, what, be prepared, but talk, because just hopefully people hearing my story, if that day comes for somebody, that they go, you know what, if that guy got through it, I can get through it. And that's what I hope people realize, and in any whatever they're dealing with.
And that's a killer way to approach it, brother. And now you've mentioned your site, but kind of give everybody and a good place to go get started. Clearly,
Yeah,
you
and
mentioned
please,
they can go to your site and call you.
please, yeah, please. That's what I want. I want my phone to ring. But the thing is if you'll go to my site, it has different things. I've got a podcast that's called No Options with Ty Gipson. It's on Spotify, Apple. It's on the typical channels, whatever. And then it's tygipson.com, and that's TYGIP as in Paul, SON.com. But on there also, I'm on the social media deals, and I'm pushing out I've got quotes and things that I try to encourage people with, and communicate with people. So, and then my cell number's on there. So call me if you need me.
I love it, brother. That takes gut. My cell is on my site too. My wife is not a fan. She she's not a fan,
Well,
but
I love it.
hopefully
I mean, my wife is 100% behind me, and it's been amazing. I'm not saying that I'm just saying she truly helps me help others, I'm just we were blessed with our company being able to do what it did, and man, I'm on a mission to try to help as many people as I can. If I
well,
don't
it's
know, if I can't help them, I'm gonna try to find somebody that can. So
right. Well, listen, Ty, that's our time here, brother, but it's been a glorious conversation, man, and I feel uplifted by hearing a success story or a comeback story like yours, man. 3 organ transplants and is still making it happen, brother. So, you're living a blessed life, and I notice, and I want you to know everybody appreciates your time, brother. But yeah, this has been another episode of The Next Fix, y'all.